Thank you. The audience just keeps getting bigger because the show's so popular. It's unbelievable. So today,
You want to start that over? You didn't like that.
okay, good. So today we're gonna talk about a specific number, which we've been able to finally figure out, but it is the number 13,346.
Yeah.
So. Over the last about year and a half, we have generated a little over 200,000 real estate leads for our agent partners around the country.
Yep.
And after excessive search and building in a lot of stuff on the back end, we have determined that 13,346 of them have closed homes.
Yes.
Between when they were generated in January of 24, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I wanted to first kick this off. There are some people that have taken advantage of that, and they get a lot of them. We have an agent that we both know that I ran into here recently, and he logged into his system, and it showed how many transactions he missed. Guess what the number was?
I don't remember.
14.
Yeah.
14. And so luckily he's a successful thinker, right? And he doesn't have a victim mentality. So he wasn't like, oh no, I'm so mad, but like, oh, I got to get to work. Right. Which I think is a big difference in the mindset. But if you want to touch on why you think some people would get a bigger line share of those, instead of letting some of those fall through the cracks and having to experience going with other agents, what do you think probably is the top, 2 or 3 reasons?
Yeah, to begin, it's just skills and systems. I mean, that's it. Those are the top only reasons. And I've been doing a lot of shopping of real estate over the past 6-8 months, and the disparity between the quality of agents is wild, right? Like we've always known that,
Right.
But what I've seen is like, some of the agents who have just been around for, the past 5 years are so used to not having to do the actual work of servicing a client that they don't even know how because nobody taught them.
Yep.
So, I'll go and I'll look with an agent, and if I don't write that day, that's it. Off into the sunset they go. I don't hear back. The actual way to do that is if you have a relationship, you've met with someone, you've taken your time and driven them around or, shown them homes, right? You've invested time and money. Now they owe you the courtesy of answering your calls and having a correspondence with you because you are now set in motion on a mission to help them accomplish this goal.
Yep.
But I think everybody has a different thought, especially agents who haven't, done this for a long time. I think their thought is, well, I don't want to bug them, and we talked about that a little bit last time, but I think that the difference is what to do and having a clear understanding of it, with portals like HouseJet, a lot of times the agents expect the customer to bring them the homes that they want to see.
Right.
Which is crazy to me, right? Like I don't mind doing the work because I'm in the business, but as an agent, you should be always sending your customer new homes that match what they're looking for forever, right? Like for eternity. And when they get those homes, you should call them up and say, hey, I just sent you 4 new listings. Which ones do you like? Would you like to take a look? And you repeat that process in perpetuity until they get back in the car and they buy, right? And that's the process. It's that freaking simple. There's no like math equation, beautiful mind formula to it, but that is not happening today. Agents don't do that. And the only thing that I can ascertain is that like they were just so used to the feeding frenzy of COVID that they didn't have to.
A great example of this, like literally today, Cameron, who's one of our top salespeople or whatever, has been kicking a can around buying a house, should I do it? Should I not do it? Right. And luckily has a good agent, right? And got a message today that was like, hey, I think this is something you would like. And now he's like, I want to do this today. Like he was like,
well, imagine that.
Yeah.
Following up, right?
That's all it took.
Servicing the client. Yeah.
Yeah. You expect Zillow or us or realtor.com to have the save searches going, and they're like, well, they have the same access that we do. Well, you get paid to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just one step in the process, but there's so much of that. And we took up a term a little bit ago of COVID agent, and Cameron had a
took offense to it, so we're not going to use it.
So we're not gonna label it as like a bad thing, right? It's just like, look, we're gonna make it happen. Vetoed. So there's like this different existence. And I remember, like, it's funny now because before, when I first started working with real estate agents, it was 2013, right? So like people that were new there, the people that had survived the Great Recession, right? It was like pre-Great Recession agents and post-Great Recession agents, right? Because that drove a lot of people out of the business. So, you talk to people and they're like, I've been licensed since 2004, honey. So I know what I'm doing, right? And it's like, okay, you've seen some shit, you know? 100%. And so you know kind of where to go and pivot, because sometimes you just got to acquire different skills to make sure that you get the same result or more. And so something else that you touched about today with our sales team is like, the thing that helped you during that time was going to it and is like, instead of woe is me and the sky is falling and interest rates are going up and buyers aren't making as many offers and houses are sitting on the market longer, which all are true. You can't argue with that, but it doesn't serve you to just focus on it. No. So instead of focusing on the wall, focus on the road. And like your thing was like going to the MLS and actually counting the number of transactions that were happening.
Yeah, we had lost about a third of our average transactions, which wasn't horrible, because we lost about a third of the number of agents in our market as well. So it was like, same long as it is wide. I'm still competing for the same amount of transactions with the same amount of people. I just got to get out there and do it. And what I told the team was like, I had like canned goods in my house. I was hunkering down, I had this big log freaking fortress, and I was, about to just pack it in. And somebody gave me that good advice. And when I saw the numbers, I was like number 1 to number like 62, 67, I can't remember. And my agents were going to work at Walmart. And when I got my head out of my ass from my friend giving me that advice and I saw it, it was like a few short months, I was back to number 1. It didn't take any time because it was just a mindset shift. But, I think for agents, who have been in the business just in the past 5 years, going back to the beginning before the internet is going to be helpful. So let me talk about that real quick. I wasn't there before the beginning of the internet, but I was like right there as the internet came out, right? And the MLS, and it was now digitized. So prior to then, there were MLS books, right? And the way that you would get listings is you would go to a real estate agent, they would have an MLS book, right? And like the MLS courier would drop off new listings to the offices every day, right? And you'd add that one to your book.
Every day?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
I mean, I think this was before me. All right. Maybe it wasn't every day. Maybe it was every other day. Full disclosure. There's some agents out there, you know what I'm talking about. But my point is this, like the flow of information for properties came from the agent to the customer, right? So when I got into business, the realtor.com was around, but nobody really cared about it or used it.
Right.
Our MLS was still digital, but it was still only for the real estate community. So we would have to go in, scour the MLS, find properties that match what they were looking for. There was no automated system to deliver these on a daily basis, print them out, mail them to the client, call them up, make sure they got it, and say, hey, I made some notes on some of them. Which ones are your favorite? Let's set up time to go take a look, right? And if it was a bust, you'd repeat that process and you say, okay, I'll go get some more. Or they'd be like, oh, I want to look at this one and this one. Cool. What day would you like? Would you like weekdays or weekends, right? Multiple choice questions. And you would repeat that process. And every day when you go into the office to work, you would call through your list of people and you would say, hey, just touching base. I'm searching through the MLS for you. I'm seeing things that are out there. Would you like me to send this over? Yeah, that'd be great. Cool. Right? I'll send it over. And this was all before, the listing cart, automated updates of homes that match our criteria, and the prevalence of the real estate portal. So like all things go back to the analog, right? And that's how that was. And so agents from that time still do a great job of leveraging technology in order to implement that process. But they don't do it without communicating first. Like, hey, let me put you on a listing cart to get you daily updates of everything that match what you're looking for. Let's talk about it. Let me make sure I got your criteria straight. Doing that gives them the ability to have the law of reciprocity, gives them the excuse to follow up with them every time that thing dings. Every time they get an alert that another set of properties has been sent out, if they don't have a follow-up call scheduled, if they don't have another showing scheduled, that's their excuse to get back on the phone. Now let's talk about why people won't do that, why people don't do that, right? I did get a text follow-up from a gal. I didn't have time to respond. I forgot about it. Never heard back since, right? Yeah, it's okay. She's not a bad person. She just doesn't know these things, right? And so this is why it's important to talk about. So, now I'm losing my train of thought. Well, you're going to have to cut this because I can't remember what the fuck my rant was about. What was I
saying? You were just going about it going to analog. So.
Yeah. Why don't they take the time to call a prospect?
Yes.
Right? So they feel like they're being self-serving, right? That's my guess. They feel like, oh, they know why I'm calling because I'm going to get a commission, or they don't want to hear from me. If they wanted to hear from me, they'd call me. In sales, it is not their job to follow up with you. It's your job to follow up with them, right? Like, period. Anybody who thinks the opposite of that is just not going to make very much money. And so they don't do that for whatever reason, whatever story they got in their head. And they're just losing a ton of money. They're leaving a crap ton of money on the table.
Shout out George Huntoon. I sold him a boot camp ticket for $500, and I followed up with him every day for 30 straight days. Phone call, text messages, emails every single day. He never responded after our initial call. Yeah. And I did it for 30 days. And when we got the testimonial of him, because he ended up answering, and when he answered, he goes, "Jake, I'm glad you called." And so he knew my number at that point because I'd called him so much, and he knew it was me. I was leaving messages, all that fun stuff.
Right.
But I never, like, for me, it became like I had such a great conversation with him. Like, I'm still, I'll
you become a friend.
So often,
right.
And so this is over 10 years ago, and I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna buy, die, Wolf of Wall Street kind of mentality. And so when he did the testimonial, he learned so much of this boot camp, and he was like, I could talk about that, but I really want to talk about the sales guy, Jake. And he's like, but it was a lesson for me too, that sometimes you get stories in your head of this person doesn't like me, or this person doesn't want me to talk to him anymore. Like, if that was the case, they probably would answer and cuss you out. Right. But very rarely, ever does that work. And so agents, I feel like sometimes will hide behind, well, I want to protect my brand and all this stuff. And it's hey, no offense, but if you're selling 15, 20 houses or less a year, your brand doesn't really exist. Right. So your reputation can exist, but no one that you reached out to on a regular basis because they started the thing and you were trying to help them accomplish something, no one's ever going to get mad at you unless you're why are you not calling me back? Right. As long as you're courteous along the way, it's not a real fear that you should actually be afraid of.
I agree 100%. I think that 80% of the things that we worry about never come true.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think that agents just get stuck in their head of all the reasons not to follow up, and maybe it's procrastination, what have you. But the reality, I think, is that, God, I'm just brain dead today.
Can I?
Yes, I had a point. Hang on.
Okay.
Fucking favorites.
I know.
This cocksucker.
He's Jess's favorite. His favorite.
Here's my point. My point is this: when you talk to somebody, you meet with them, they're in what's called a known state, right? So the last time you left them, that is the only thing that you know for sure. So if you left them on a positive note and you said, okay, well, let me find some other stuff. Let's get it out to you. Let's see what's next, right? You should always have that anytime you meet with them. The known state, the way that Ben taught me, was if you leave your rag on the sink in the kitchen, you can still use it in the dishes. It wasn't outside washing the car, right? It's in a known state. So that's the way you left your customer, in that good known state. And you should always just assume positive intent moving forward. And you should always just continue to follow up with them. I can't even believe that this is even a topic, if I'm being honest. But it's so abysmal out there. And the cool thing about it is this: it's so easy to compete now.
Yes.
It's just like kids that don't know how to drive a stick or write cursive, right? The people that do are going to be the one-eyed man in the land of the blind. So for you out there watching this, if you'll just do those little steps of continue to follow up with anybody that you met with, anybody that you showed property to, anybody that you've ever sent houses via email, snail mail, messenger, doesn't matter, text message, just always continue to follow up with them and send them more properties and continue to say, when's a good time for us to go look at these? When's a good time for this? When's a good time for that? You will make a lot of money because nobody's doing that stuff right now. It's crazy.
I feel like, I got this crazy idea when you were talking about going back to analog, because I had a conversation with somebody a long time ago about marketing, and they were like, listen, the same messaging, it's specifically for real estate, but probably just about industry. The same messaging works. It just used to be on door hangers. And before it was door hangers, it used to be on direct mail.
Dude,
and before
it's the same with home evaluation.
Yeah.
Before it was a digital find out what your home was worth online, it was a freaking postcard. Before that, it was a snail mail certificate. You know what I mean? It's been around forever. Nobody's reinventing the wheel here. It's just we're digitizing these things. And then through that, people lose their way.
Yeah. And the same way that bell bottoms have come back for the third time since the 70s.
Are they back again?
In fashion, yes.
Oh, boy.
So for the third time, is that true? I don't know. Okay. Well, we're gonna assume so because I was told so. You're a TikTok star. Maybe you're with the TikTok crowd. But
That's
anyway,
my wife. She would.
yeah, that's true. However, things come back, and so I this crazy idea. So I would really like someone to test this and then message us later, Jake@HouseJet.com. Please email me and tell me you're going to test this. Maybe we test it with Kayla, but I can almost guarantee that if you are doing like 20 or less deals, that you could double your business just by taking and going back old school and printing, like actually finding houses, printing them, and either dropping them off at those people's houses or actually mailing it to them, because you would stand out so much. Jay Abraham's thing is like money moves to difference, not similarity. 100%. So like in a world now that it's so digital, if like I can just imagine if I met with a real estate agent, I had a really good conversation, and then in the mail I got a list of all the houses they think that would be the best for me to go look at. Like I would just be so blown away. Dude, that was a real thing.
Like literally write notes on the listing and like highlight shit and like literally put it in the mail and mail it to them, you know? Yeah, which we're not supposed to say shit anymore. Some agent got mad.
Okay, I apologize for that. However, I was reading it, like literally when we got that message, by the way, I was reading Hard Things About Hard Things.
Yeah.
And it was in the section talking about if you should allow profanity in your workplace.
Oh.
And so he ended up allowing it because he was like, I'm the number one offender, but he wrote this funny email I was reading to Cameron. But he ultimately was like, in the tech space, any of the top talent is coming from environments that use profanity. So if we don't allow it, we might not be able to get in top talent.
Dude,
so
salespeople and construction workers are like some of the biggest offenders.
Yes.
Anyway,
I offended your wife the first time she heard me and was like,
she was shocked.
Yeah,
I was like,
shocked your wife.
She has like this. You really snowball her. She has this thought of you as, you know, such a sweet,
noble person with glasses. The glasses will throw you off,
for without a doubt.
Just the mouth. Yeah. But I think if people implore some of those things, like there's so much good stuff that has already been proven, and I feel like some people are just constantly looking for the shortcut. But at the end of the day, if you just put in the work.
Well, let me just back up on that.
Yeah.
Like the oldest school thing that's the most important is dialing the phone.
Amen.
Not text message, not email, not messenger. Those are all good forms if you haven't contacted them yet to like try different forms of media. But once you got a relationship, nothing substitutes picking up the phone. Hey, Mike, I just sent you a bunch of houses. There's 5 of them that I want you to take a look at. There's 2 in particular that I think are really interesting. Here's why, right? Check them out. Let's go look, right? It's that simple, you know? And I think that today, just people have gone backwards in how they communicate to the point where they don't know how to freaking communicate.
Right.
Yeah.
I just earlier today, we had an interview in here.
Yeah.
And I just go in, introduce myself, whatever, shake hands. And I literally went up to him and said, "Hey, I'm Jake. Nice to meet you." Reached out. He shook my hand, never introduced himself. And so I had to be like, what was your name?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, well, my name is, so-and-so." And I was like, "Oh, okay, nice to meet you." He was in for a sales interview, so obviously that didn't go great. Bad first impression. But like, I feel like that's just, especially for some of you younger agents too, that just text messages are like a preferred method of communication, right? Like that it gets to the point where it's like you have this, and Wally's talked about it, like we should probably click a link to the call reluctance conversation that you and Wally had.
Yeah, Wally has some tremendous insight there,
yeah,
for sure.
Because it's a real thing. Like especially if you get out of practice, you start creating this thing to be bigger than what it actually is, and you just have a fear of the phone, of just talking to humans on the phone.
Well, it's because everybody wants to be liked. But let me tell you something: if you're not servicing the people, you're not going to be liked.
Right.
If you're not going out there finding properties, communicating to them, you're just not going to be liked. And listen, if you got a handful of clients, right, that you're working with and looking for properties for, and you go on some tours, you check them out, and then it clicks like, oh, this would be good for so-and-so, right? And you call them up, "Hey, I was just touring this house, I just checked it out. I think it's going to be very interesting. I'd love to get you in it,
Yep.
When's a good time? I think it's going to be right up your alley. Here's why, And it's the simplest thing ever. It's just sales. It's just what it takes, but there's no reason to not call people. There's no reason to not follow up other than whatever's in your head. And let me just tell you something, that is not worth the trade for the money that you're leaving on the table.
Nope.
It's just not.
Nope. One more thing that you mentioned that I got to touch back to. So when you did the research looking at the MLS and what the actual numbers were or whatever, I've been in the back of my head, and then finally Ryan's right hand guy John posted like about a month ago where they were at. So they did 450 deals last year. This year the goal was like 508 or something like that, which people have some metrics dialed in when a goal is like very specific like that, right? They got a goal, a reason for that goal, and a plan around that goal, whatever.
100%.
And so they're tracking for that. So they had closed like 315 or 320 or something so far through like the middle of July.
That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. So like a lot of people out there with that narrative of like, oh, I'm not doing good because and not knowing what the actual numbers are. There are agents that I feel like it's even more challenging for some of those mega agents and mega teams to continue growing when they're at that level.
100%.
But for them to grow at a 10% clip, like if you're doing 20, you should do 22 this year if you're staying on pace. Like it's not the story. And our good friend Tracy in Atlanta, she posted today, and she's like re-energized, whatever. And she was like, I have a new level of focus. And in the last 24 hours, I've gotten $3 million worth of listings, set like 6 more listing appointments, and have like 2 pending, right? In the last 24 hours.
That's
right?
wild.
And so, like it's, I guarantee you when you dig into the numbers, you're going to find out that it's not nearly as bad as what you think it is.
And who cares anyway? Like I was telling a friend in the business, I was like, dude, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. Real estate's going to move. It's just a matter of how much.
Yep.
Right. Like price wise, it's always going to still move. And the thing is, anytime there's a change, anytime there's a shift, it's a massive opportunity for everybody who gets into that mindset of, who moved my cheese, right? Because most people aren't going to react fast enough. A lot of people are going to stick their head in the sand, and a lot of people are just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and expect a different result. But the reality is, if you just pivot a little bit, learn a new skill, learn a new anything, right? Like that you can use, 100% new tools, learn new anything that you can use to be able to take advantage of that shift, you can gobble up more market share than anybody else. All great businesses, not all, but a tremendous amount of great businesses were built during recessions and depressions. Why? Because nobody else was doing nothing. They weren't doing shit. They were just like, oh, the sky is falling, like I did when the recession first happened, right? Yeah. But the moment you change your mindset and you're like, you know what? Everything is still moving. There's a ton of opportunity out there. I'm going to go get mine. That's it. And to stand out today is so much easier than it ever has been before. You just got to do like the bare minimum of Real Estate 101 and like actually service people, call them up, keep following up with them. Like how hard is that? But to your point of differentiation, back in the day, color ads became real prevalent. I remember, it's going to date me.
Let's go.
When the real estate magazines only had black and white pictures in them, right? So when color came out, my son asked me, he's like, Dad, was the whole world in black and white when you were a kid? I was like, yes, son, it was. So glad you're here now. Anyway, when the color ads came out, if you wanted to get a bump in conversion of people responding to your ads, if you just did a black and white and all color, right, you stood out, right? It was all of a sudden, this is different and it's cheaper too, right? So, yeah. I think mailing properties to people, MLS spawn sheets that are people who are actively shopping would be an amazing thing to test.
Yes.
Right. But at a minimum, make sure you put them on a listing cart. Make sure you tell them you're putting them on a listing cart. Make sure that they know that they're going to get daily updates. And then you look at those daily updates and you call them when you see ones that are good deals or of interest. You call them when you're out in the field and you go show somebody else a property and you're like, dang, this will be a good house for the so-and-so, And you let them know, hey, I was just out showing. They weren't interested in this house, but this is really what you've been looking for. When can we go take a look? That's it. Yep. So assumptive close. And it's that simple. Yes. And you do that over and over again until you found one that they like,
Yep. And unfortunately, it's gotten to the point where what you were talking about, like the bare minimum would set you apart currently.
Yeah.
Like we had a guy a long time ago, we were polling people on like what their favorite feature was of the tools and systems and everything that they get tech wise. And this guy was like, no ring voicemails. And it was because this guy would not sign a listing agreement with them unless he promised he would give them an update every single Wednesday at noon. And so he really didn't want to call this guy every single Wednesday at noon. So he set up a no ring voicemail in the system to just leave the same exact voicemail every single time. So it'd show you have a missed call from the real estate agent because he was never going to answer it. And he never actually listened to the messages. It was just like one of the blue M&M type of things.
Yeah.
And he was like, this was the greatest thing ever. Just because like a guy just wanted to make sure that you were going to service him. Right. And that you were going to put in the work.
As you grow your team, you should have a listing coordinator that calls your clients every single week and gives them an update, right? Like, hey, no showings. Here's what's going on in the market. Hey, 2 showings. Here's the feedback. Hey,
how many people do you think are doing that?
I don't know, but I always did, right? And then you also build into it, hey, it's been 60 days on the market. It's time to talk to Mike, about pricing and restructuring price. Let's get that scheduled, and it's just a system, right?
Yep.
But yeah, it's a huge differentiator between the average agent doing nothing, and not even following up with the client or the poor seller and looking like a total rock star. Because the better you do, the better experience they have, the more likely they're going to do repeat, the more business with you, the more likely they're going to send you friends and family as referrals, and the more likely you're going to have a good name in the industry in your market, which is what most people perceive as their brand. It's really the reputation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Bada bing, bada boom.